All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome into episode 10, Kayfabe Kouncil, the show where we review and critique news topics and segments in the world of professional wrestling. My name is PrettyTony, and alongside me is TFJ0ker. Joker, what's the crack?
Well, it's an awful lot cooler this week, PT, so, I'm not doing too bad this week. I've gotten quite a bit more sleep and enjoyed quite a lot less wrestling this week.
Fair enough. On the other hand, it is extremely hot for me today. It's upwards of about 97 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's a rough one out there today. So remember, folks, stay hydrated.
I would not want to be sitting in that weather.
It's not fun, and it's been a little rough as well because it's been hot during the night, so sleep hasn't been the greatest. But we get it where we can.
Yeah, I definitely would have to be sleeping on top of the bed, over the covers, windows open. Just kind of like, come to me, sleep, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, trying to stay cool as best we can. So if you have some fans, if you have some air conditioning, if you have whatever you can, some cool showers, definitely, again, try to stay cool and stay hydrated. And remember to take care of yourself, especially during these hot summer months. But also, as a quick aside, thank you everyone for checking out our latest episode, as well as our latest couple shorts that have gotten a bit of traction on YouTube. So thank you so much for checking them out. We are pleasantly surprised, and thank you again so much.
Yeah, we were sat last night chatting about what we were going to do today, and PT looks across and goes, you realize that, this is happening right now? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, it was very, very, very nice to see. It was very good little segment that I thought that would be really, really good, and PT edited it and made it just amazing. So couldn't have done it without PT, obviously. And it was just, thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, thank you again. With the shorts, I'm trying a newer piece of trying to push myself in terms of editing and add a little bit of variety and kind of fun with the edits. So if that's something you definitely like to see further down the line, definitely let us know. And again, thank you so much for checking us out. As a reminder, you can find us in video form at youtube.com/Kayfabe Kouncil and in audio form wherever you get your podcasts from. On this week's episode, we look at Vince McMahon retires from WWE, and we're going to look at the SummerSlam card and give our predictions. But coming up first, Vince McMahon retires from WWE. So at the time of recording, which would be Saturday, July 23rd, we found out yesterday, late breaking news, that Vince McMahon has retired from the WWE. He released a tweet here. It says, quote, "At 77, time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe. Then, now, forever, together. Hashtag WWE and hashtag thank you." And then followed up soon thereafter with an official statement that reads, quote, "As I approach 77 years old, I feel it's time for me to retire as chairman and CEO of WWE. Throughout the years, it's been a privilege to help WWE bring you joy, inspire you, thrill you, surprise you, and always entertain you. I would like to thank my family for mightily contributing to our success, and I would also like to thank all of our past and present superstars and employees for their dedication and passion for our brand. Most importantly, I would like to thank our fans for allowing us into your homes every week and being your choice of entertainment. I hold the deepest appreciation and admiration for our generations of fans all over the world who have liked, currently like, and sometimes even love our form of sports entertainment. Our global audience can take comfort in knowing WWE will continue to entertain you with the same fervor, dedication, and passion as always. I'm extremely confident in the continued success of WWE, and I leave our company in the capable hands of an extraordinary group of superstars, employees, and executives. in particular both chairwoman and co-CEO Stephanie McMahon and co-CEO Nick Khan. As the majority shareholder, I will continue to support WWE in any way I can. My personal thanks to our community and business partners, shareholders, and board of directors for their guidance and support throughout the years. Then, now, forever, together. So the unthinkable has happened. Hell have frozen over. The thing that shall never be legitimately happened. Vince McMahon has stepped away completely from WWE, has retired as CEO and chairman, as well as head of creative for WWE. So to start us off, Joker, what are your thoughts? What was your reaction when you heard the news?
Okay. So my immediate first of all, actually, let me just preface everything I say with I am not a hat wearing person. And what that means is I have several hats to wear tonight when it comes to my opinion and the opinions that are currently surrounding this entire story. I will have my tinfoil hat, I will have my fan hat, and I will have my look into the future fat man hat. So it's it's out there. These are the ones that I'm going to be trying to put out and articulate. But my immediate reaction was, what? Because no, like you said, like hell hath frozen over. Like he was in an interview with Pat McAfee earlier this year saying, I'm never going to retire. Paraphrasing, I'm never going to retire. Obviously, there have been ongoing legal issues that have possibly forced his hand to take this very public step back and retirement, and appointing his daughter co-CEO alongside Nick Khan. It was the biggest news of the week that I don't think anyone could have predicted was ever going to come, because even though we joked about it, and a lot of people in the internet wrestling community will joke about, he should retire. Some people are obviously serious, and he's out of touch and things like this. Here, he was never going to retire. We were all pretty aware of that. His name is synonymous with WWE, for better or for worse, and I think that this is something that I don't think I'm done reacting to, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
I think that's a fair assessment, especially we had our pre-production meeting yesterday and we were deciding on what we wanted to cover, and I was beginning to do research for the show. And then all of a sudden at 4:05 Eastern Standard Time, we get this tweet from Vince, and then subsequently the statement I read out, and sort of a bit in shock. And I think that's apropos because of the points you made. Again, just being on the Pat McAfee show maybe a month, 2 months ago. I'll never retire. It's the thing that he's basically spearheaded the company for the last 40 years, essentially, and he's always been at the forefront and head of creative and everything, and he's been a prominent piece on and behind camera. So when you think of WWE, and for some folks, when you think of wrestling, this is Vince McMahon. So again, since this is still fresh in our mind and this just happened, I think folks are trying to react and kind of come to, I wouldn't say come to terms or come to grip, but it's definitely adjustment, for this is something that, again, we'd never think would ever have happened and type of thing. And it's quite a change and quite a range of emotion, and from not only ourselves, but from everybody, from the fans to the superstars to employees and things of that nature. So it's quite the story, quite the moment, quite the change.
Yeah, I'm going to put my first hat on, and it's going to be the tinfoil hat. I'm gonna throw some conspiracy your way, and you're gonna laugh, or you're gonna be like, Joker, be quiet, please. And obviously him remaining the majority shareholder, and him it's unclear as to whether or not he appointed Steph, but regardless of whether or not he did so, she is still family. And this just means that he can have her ear. So in my tinfoil hat brain, this is not, this is devil's advocate, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist, Sami Zayn parody, whatever you want to call it. Um, he can still have that sort of just whispering in her ear things, the direction the company should be going, according to him. Now, obviously, Steph is a very accomplished executive within the company, and recently came back after taking time away to spend with her family. So definitely very family oriented as well. And even last night with her short promo, I suppose you can call it a promo, she had mouthed the words that she loves her dad. And so obviously there is that familial connection. I don't think anyone would ever take that away, regardless of what's going on outside of the cameras and SmackDown and Raw, etc. So tinfoil hat, he's still in control.
Yeah, the notion of a McMahon essentially being in, or at least the head of WWE, we've seen it now with the appointment of Stephanie being the chairwoman and now co-CEO is super interesting. So at least in the superfluous or the minute sense, we still have a McMahon representing the company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, again, it's since it's still fresh in our mind, it's still sort of hard to articulate sort of what to think, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because so there's not quite the elephant in the room, but there were a lot of folks that think Vince, in terms of the way he thinks and sort of the way he does creative, was out of touch and sort of old school and kind of not sort of keeping up with the times. And there are a lot of folks that are relieved in a sense. There are a lot of folks that are happy or, kind of joyous that he's stepping away from the company. There are folks that are maybe a little bit kind of upset, which is, again, okay to be, type of thing. My point I'm driving home is it's okay to be confused and to be not find exactly the way to feel or know how to feel. He's been the head of the company for 40 plus years. And if you are into wrestling, for better or for worse, like Joker had mentioned, he's had an impact on entertainment, on pro wrestling for these number of decades. And if you have watched wrestling, you're probably aware of him, and he's brought you entertainment that you enjoyed, that you didn't. And again, the not knowing what to think or how to feel is okay, because now it's going to be a change. So, and change is not always easy or comfortable to deal with.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my next hat, my fan hat. I wish I really had hat props. You could have lent me some hats, PT. That'd be nice. And the fan hat, basically, from my point of view, I am one of the fans that I am happy that he is going. He's a 77-year-old man, kicking the arse off 70. To be honest, he should have been probably thinking about retirement a while ago, regardless of his love for the company, his love for the business. I did personally think he was out of touch. I am one of those individuals that some of the directions, always going with the big guy, never letting the characters drive the narrative, always wanting even though I'm a fan of the big power guys, I do like your individuals like the Pat McAfees of the world, the theories, like their size is really good. Like Seth Rollins is a prime example. Like he's not a big jacked yoked machine like Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar. Um, even someone of the Miz, or if you're going over to the smaller side, your Johnny Garganos, your Tommaso Ciampas, the size of those individuals who are only a little bit smaller, but height wise, like he never really saw too much in those individuals. Even so far as a while ago, there was the rumors around Adam Cole being moved to the main roster as a manager. Now, Adam Cole, love him or hate him, he's a great wrestler. And so, how could you have this legend of the business, the big booker man himself, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, unable to see how great this character was, how good he was in the ring, how amazing it was at the promos, and it was just, how do you not see these and push on and go for these bigger guys who can't work, and then you lose you'll lose fans, you'll lapse fans, etc. Because the other thing with all of this change is, I really hope to see a resurgence in unscripted promos, because the scripted promos that he had people writing had people like Simon Miller of What Culture going, having skits that say nobody talks like that. Do you know what I mean? Some of the promos sucked, and even to this day, their delivery is terrible. And it's just, please let these people be characters in their own way. Let them discover it. Let them, work with the teams to get this promo right, as opposed to, here's your script, read it word for word, try and do some delivery, and we'll see what happens.
You hit the nail on the head. I think there's been a lot of dynamic change and small changes throughout Vince's tenure as head of the company and then also head of creative. We've seen different body types. We've seen different athleticisms. We've seen different things kind of become popular through Vince's tenure. Just a bit of background for those that aren't aware. In 1968, McMahon made his debut as an in-ring announcer on the WWWF, which is the Worldwide Wrestling Federation's All-Star Wrestling. In 1982, Vince purchased the business from his ailing father, Vincent J. McMahon, which then saw the blossom in from the golden age, which folks would call, of the Super Show with WrestleMania into the Hulkamania era, into the sort of big renaissance and kind of popularity boom in the 80s. We see it transition to in around 93 when the company entered the new generation era, which then forego the sort of big, large male, superhuman, the action figure physiques into a little bit more of an agile, most notably the Bret Harts and the Shawn Michaels, so a bit more athleticism, and then transitioning into a more mature orientated attitude era, most notably with the good guy versus bad guys promo on December 15th, 1997. So we see a large change in the structure of how the show is presented and how these characters are portrayed. Segueing to the Ruthless Aggression era starting in 2002 with some new stars, and the Attitude Era mainstays kind of waning out and being filtered out. Going PG in July of 2008, which we've seen a large shift in kind of branding and kind of seeing different things culminate and more athletes and more athleticism being shown there. And then finally going towards the now, or the most recent, unofficially reality era. We have a lot more social media interaction and a lot more voices being heard and things, and kind of changes into how they're presented, who's presented, how they're promoting, things of that nature. So Vince has shown us with, over the last 40 years, especially, obviously the little trip down history lane, what's being pushed, who's being pushed, how they're being pushed, the types of athleticisms, the types of physiques, the type of storylines that are being shown, and being consumed. And it's been a gradual change, but we've seen so much different presentations, I'll say. And Vince has kind of showed us, and it's been his creative direction, but this is kind of what we're seeing. And now, where, not to say that where do we go from here, but we've seen a large change over the course of, again, these past 40 years.
Yeah, it's time for the last hat for me. You know, the where do we go to the future? And you cannot go towards the future without looking towards your past. In my belief, and the fact that you took us down a wee trip on history lane was really, really good and interesting to see where we had been, with always starting off way back when to where we are now, and all the different sort of eras of the shows for WWF, WWE, etc. We have been in this PG era for a long time, and nothing seems to have changed. Whereas if you look at the other eras, there were times of change, there were times of new individuals coming through, influencing the next stage of evolution, as it were, for the WWE as it would become. And you had such amazing response to those changes, because it wasn't as if people initially hated the Ruthless Aggression era, because like the stars that came out in the Ruthless Aggression era, as well as the Attitude era, you know, everything before were amazing. The PG era had its quirks and has some really good stories to tell, and has some really good breakout stars. I'm interested to see now where we go with TV 14 as it comes through. Where 2 weeks ago it was leaked early. It wasn't supposed to be. I think next week it was the scheduled time. There's still no confirmation, so whatever. The TV 14 is coming, I hope. But with that, I hope that a new scheme for writing, to not so much as we have to revert to a sweary show. We don't have to add in more and more swears just to get them added in. It's a self-regulation of TV 14, which allows them to do it if it's desired. So if you have a very intense promo, for example, whenever you have the likes of Ricky Starks doing a promo in AEW, he gets very heated and he has to hold himself back sometimes. I want a character to do that. If there is a character in WWE that does come up that needs that drive and needs that heat behind them, and get that out of the promo, that emotion to come out of the promo, I need to see that. But there's very few individuals at the minute that feel like they're doing a legitimately natural promo, as it were, that is getting that sort of energy out of them, especially whenever you have two individuals like Sheamus and Drew in the ring from SmackDown last night, who were stood there, longtime friends and rivals. You know, they came up in the business together. You know, they've done a whole bunch of work together. They fight, you know, they drink, they laugh. They're great friends. And the promos that they cut, I was just kind of sat there going, who got Sheamus to say this awful promo? Because it was awful. Like, it was terrible. Why are you saying it's a Donnybrook match? Just say we're going to have a Donnybrook. Like, we're having a Donnybrook, lads. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take a whole bunch of these shillelaghs. We're going to go out in the parking lot, and we're going to have us a Donnybrook. If he's got a problem with that, let him have, I don't know, a natural cadence to whatever it was supposed to be doing. Because that promo was so restricted. And I looked at that and I watched Drew respond and I listened to him and I just went, no, I think I'm good. And it's a Donnybrook match. It's supposed to be a fight. Like, that's what it's no limits kind of, you know, this sort of thing. So, like, the natural essence of what that's supposed to be is already lost by saying match. And that's kind of where I want to get away from and go towards the future, where You have these more natural promos, less emphasis on the banned list of words that they have. Like, get rid of that, scrap that, please. Go back to calling people fans or the WWE universe. I'm perfectly fine with both of them. Get rid of premium live event. Go back to pay per view. That is just awful terminology. Whatever. Try and revert to things that make sense. I get that you're a sports entertainment company. Try and play off that. We're not asking you to be a wrestling company. We understand where you're going. But it would be nice to be sports entertained rather than sports bored.
There's two things that make me want to share from what you just said. The first being, and thank you for bringing it up, the terms of sort of ratings, and not rating in the sense of the television ratings. So in terms of when we think about rating itself, right? For example, like PG or TV-14, what we naturally think of is we jump to movie ratings. So when we think about movie ratings, it's different in the sense of a movie gets a rating because they have an edit. It's sent to the review board, and the review board comes back and say, hey, this is rated PG, this is rated PG-13, this is rated R4, and they sort of don't give a huge list of things, but they're like, all right, because of these things, that's what we're saying. When it comes to television, to your point, it's self-regulated. So if they say this is rated PG or this is rated TV-14, and you'll notice they have these little characters up in the top, like LVS, things of that nature. The sense of a television rating is a guide that they sort of self-impose, and they give themselves to say, like, hey, this is kind of the parameters we're looking to fill in. We may have like some suggested violence. We might have some suggestive language, things of that nature. So it's not like it's saying, this is going to happen. They could have a TV 14 rating and still do exactly the same thing. No swearing, no things like that. So again, it's more of a sort of self-imposed thing in terms of a rating system than it would be as opposed to a film rating. So the second point you noticed, you mentioned there, is about sort of the changing of the guard and the changing of the things that you would like to see. And I'm with you on board because, again, with Vince stepping away, especially from creative, we have a potentially opportunity to see some things changed up a little bit. We don't know at the moment who's going to be overseeing creative, whether it's going to be a head or maybe a committee or things of that nature. We just don't know. But I'm sure we'll find out sooner rather than later. But I can see things like loosening the straps or the belt on, terms like, hey, maybe we can call them fans, as well as the WWE universe, for example. And maybe having things like, there might always have writers, but maybe like, all right, here maybe some bullet points, or here's some things that we want you to hit, and kind of hit your time and hit all your points. Things like, we might not, to your point about Lord of Ricky Starks maybe holding himself back from throwing in a curse word, for example. I don't think we're going to hear an effing and jeffing on the show, but we might hear, somebody might say an S word, for example, type of thing like that. So kind of throw it in periodically. So to drive this point home, even though we may be potentially going towards a change in creative, potentially, or maybe how they format it or how they look at it per se, if it's something like that, I can see it being sort of a gradual change. It's not going to be like, all right, in 2 weeks, Raw's the only show that's going to be TV-14, so we're going to have some swearing, and we're going to have, Raw's going to be the only show that we're going to allow blood on it and things like that. It's not going to sort of happen like that.
3 hours of swearing.
Yeah. It'll be gradual changes. I'm sure that'll be made. It's something we might be like, oh, okay, they threw in a swear word on a show, for example, and things of that nature.
That is to the point. Like, yeah. It's not the fact that, and thanks for the clarification of the rating system as well, because the rating system is very different between film and TV, and it's very, very important to make that point. Because like whenever I mentioned the Ricky Starks thing, he held himself back from completing a swear word, which kind of had you hooked on the was he about to? That adds to it. That's sports entertainment. That's a good promo. That's him hitting the beat, getting the people going. Oh, is he going to say it? Oh, he didn't say it. And then you even have like whenever he was getting heated up, you have Taz on commentary going, "Oh, watch it, Ricky." He's behind this whole pushing Ricky to say what he should be saying. And I'm not saying that they're immediately going to turn to AEW and have swearing and to the level of unscripted promos immediately that they do. Because let's face it, some people do benefit from scripted promos. I'm not saying everybody does, but I'm saying you should not script everyone. There are some people who benefit from it and that they will do really well with it. And there's people who have a little bit of freedom that can do without it. And the people like the Sami Zayns of the world, scripted or unscripted, the man's great on the mic. Seth Rollins, the exact same. Theory, you could probably script him a little bit if he's scripted now, like maybe, quit with some of the really trash stuff you're getting him to say. Pat McAfee, don't script that man ever. Yes, give him beats to hit, but don't script him. And it's just one of those things. Like, I would really like to see this level of outside the ring change, because inside the ring, there's something completely different that needs changed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you that I think it'll be gradual. We'll still have a writing team. I think it'll be again for some of the folks that just need, all right, just give me the script. I'll memorize it. I'll read it word for word. And then there are other folks, like for me, for example, like when it comes to our rundowns and things like that, I have my bullet points, or I have my beats that, okay, we want to sort of hit these things and kind of go on like that. And I think I work better in that. A lot of the stuff I do on, especially in these episodes, is improv or freestyle, and kind of work into those pieces like that. So I feel like for me, for example, I work better that way. But I agree that it's to drive home the point. We both think that it's not going to be an immediate change. They're not going to be things that they're going to dissolve right away. There might be some things that they'll gradually phase out and give little people more freedoms and gradually try new things and kind of see, but it's yet to be shown and yet to be seen. But I think, again, with Vince not being there, there's a little bit more hope for the future for maybe those folks that were disenfranchised by the Vince's inside and outside of the ring behavior and kind of the creative. I feel like folks might potentially come back to the product more.
Yeah. And let's face it, Vince has done an outstanding job throughout the years of being synonymous with wrestling. But the reason he is leaving is despicable. So there are an awful lot of individuals who will see this as a victory for people getting justice and him having to step away. And honestly, I'm never going to pat this man on the back, because what he did was downright disgusting. If this is all coming to bear and he does have to see these people in court and deal with these people in court, that is with him and them to do. I don't need to hear any more about this situation, not because I don't want to, but it's not something that I feel that victims of any issue should have to go through in a public eye. So yes, he is gone. He has done an awful lot for wrestling. I think we can all agree. Now it is the time to move on without him and go towards a future where we can evolve again in the sports entertainment industry. And I would really like to see what WWE looks like without his influence at all. And if that means that we have, a team of writers beholden to no head booker, or a new head booker who's more friendly towards
not putting on the same matches every week, week in, week out, screwy finishes. Because like these are the things that I was saying inside the ring that need to change. Like the screwy finishes need to go away. Use them more sporadically. I don't think there's anything more you can say about that. The constant need for running it back 3-4 times a week. Like, come on. Let's have a nice big promo, nice big segment with these guys in it. Let them air everything out. And then maybe a couple of weeks down the line, because we haven't seen them, they come back and they do something else. But we definitely have to see, and this is the one thing that I'm excited about. We get to see what the WWE is without Vincent Kennedy McMahon in our lifetime.
For sure, we're moving into uncharted waters here. And to just finally reiterate that Vince has been a part of this machine for 40 years, and this is the first time without him being at the helm of it. Kind of looking at this last point here, there's sort of been a meme going around, and I've been sharing it with Joker as well, with the ascension of not only Stephanie as chairwoman and co-CEO, but Nick Khan. And the era of Khan, Tony and Nick taking over the American pro wrestling business. The ascension of Nick Khan in a very short amount of time has been quite interesting.
I know it's completely headcanon, and I said this to you a while ago. It's like it's going to come out that Nick and Tony are secretly brothers, like, and they're just taking over the wrestling industry, and this is the thing that's going to happen. And the meme that PT was alluding to was the whole Mortal Kombat tower of progressing up to the Shao Kahn, obviously being Vincent. And it was great to see that as well. And you always see the Tony Khan just eliminating everyone one by one, and now only Stephanie stands in his way. Yeah, it's the Khan's era of wrestling instead of the McMahons. Like, I'm still headcanon in this secret brotherhood, dude.
Yeah, so we'll move past the Mortal Kombat memes of it, but for the cons, or if you're interested in the Star Trek, with both Tony Khan running AEW, being point person, and now Nick Khan being a co-CEO and a high-ranking member of the board of directors, they both come from a business background. And the point I'm going to drive home is it'll be good to see how now, with Nick Khan being a high point person for WWE, again with that business background, how some of the things we've seen more recently with his involvement and kind of thing, how that's going to parlay a little bit more sort of outside the ring, and potentially, because he's maybe, from what I understand and what I'm familiar with, not sort of going to be, or sort of entrenched in the creative aspect of it, but that notwithstanding, how that his leadership or co-leadership with Stephanie and the other board of directors plays into how we're going to see potentially slow changes into WWE.
I just hope that they're not too slow, though. Like, I get we're not going to be getting, speedy changes, and there's no news as of yet, being only 1 day old at time of recording, of any issues between the pair as co-CEOs. And I hope that there is none for the foreseeable future. It's all about trying to move away from one image and make it their own. As in, business, as in life, you're always going to try and want to leave your mark. And I'm sure Nick Khan will want to leave his mark on the WWE before long. And I'm sure Stephanie will as well. Whether or not she brings back Women's Evolution pay-per-view, more spotlight on the women's wrestling.
brings back the rumored defunct women's tag team titles in both NXT and main roster, is yet to be seen. But I for one would like to see a little bit better booking around that situation, just in general. So if I get a CEO, either Stephanie or Nick, that is going to fight for a better women's division as a whole, not just having a couple of stars, then I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, so it remains to be seen again, with it being roughly 1 to 2 days old at the time of release. Brand new, big changes, drastic change in the shift for WWE, but we are hopeful for the future. Again, we're going to lean towards it's going to be a little bit more gradual. It's not going to be quick changes, but we are going to see how this thing plays out. So if you have thoughts on Vince McMahon retiring from WWE, let us know down in the comment section below on YouTube, or hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. All right, coming up to our next topic here. Switching gears, we have SummerSlam coming up this coming Saturday. So we're going to take a look at the matchups here and share our predictions. So the first one we are looking at here is going to be Logan Paul versus The Miz. So this is going to be an interesting matchup here. Again, forgive me, even though I am a person of social media sort of illiteracy, even though I'm on the social medias, I don't know a ton about Logan Paul. I know he's done a bunch on YouTube and some other things as well, but social media star coming from the outside, again, had some appearances before, had the matchup at WrestleMania, and again, the turn from Miz on him. So now we're having this matchup coming up for them at SummerSlam. They had the confrontation this past week on Monday Night Raw, and yeah, it's just going to be an interesting matchup. He did show some quite a large amount of athleticism within the matchup itself at WrestleMania, but that was a tag match with 3 other guys in the match, so it's going to remain to be seen how it's going to play out on a one-on-one matchup. So, Joker, what do you make of this one?
So I'm in the same boat, not really knowing the background of Logan Paul. Obviously, he has previous forays into boxing as well, and just generally making a name for himself on YouTube, like you had mentioned, even so far as to buying a very expensive Pokemon card and walking down to the ring at WrestleMania wearing it, which has now made it into 2K22, I believe, because he's part of the latest DLC for that too. I really don't know what to make of him, because we have such a small sample size. Like you said, it was a tag match. There was 3 other guys in that match. How do we rate it? It's really difficult, because he's had one wishy-washy promo that was like, Miz, I'm coming for you, and then he was stood and he was trying to seem all hard, and then he stands in the ring and he looks kind of awkward just standing there facing the Miz. Like, maybe he shouldn't have been told to get into the ring with the Miz. Maybe he should have been the one in the ring with the Miz playing the cowardly heel at the top of the ramp sort of thing, instead of Miz inviting him onto the show. It's like, we all knew this was going to be a match. Why are we trying to, finagle this into something weird? I don't know. I think you're in safe hands though with the Miz. We have seen some success with Bad Bunny previously, coming in and doing some amazing work in the ring whenever he was partnering with Damian Priest of all people. So there is that sort of benchmark that I've seen people going, is he going to be as good as Bad Bunny? And we honestly can't tell you. He did show off some skill, but is that going to be enough?
I don't know. It remains to be seen. I do like your points about, again, he's shown some great athleticism, but again, it's being protected by those other three guys in the tag team match. And I do agree with your point that The Miz has shown that he can be a reliable hand. We've seen him pull off reasonably good matches with Shane at WrestleMania 35. Again, not known to be the greatest of worker. The aforementioned Bad Bunny match being tagged up with Damian Priest against Miz as well as John Morrison. So I believe Miz will take care of him. But again, it's different to see Logan now, the aforementioned promo on Raw. In, for example, YouTube videos, you can edit it down and kind of make yourself clean up, as opposed to a improv live performance where you got to hit your marks and kind of feel comfortable in that role. Maybe he's not that specifically at the moment. So again, it's a different performing aspect and piece. It's a little bit more like a live theater situation, that notwithstanding. It's going to be interesting. I know they're trying to push him as a big baby face, but I did notice during his walk to the ring and during his promo, he was getting some boos. And I know that the wrestling community and fans themselves can be a little tribal. And to say that when folks come from the outside, they're not always greeted graciously, especially if they want to get into the ring and cut promos and or wrestle. So, we like our wrestlers and we like our stars. So again, they want to push him as a babyface, but he was getting some boos. So,
yeah, I don't think that's anything down to, other than the fact that he was just generally reviled around the internet. Like that's people coming in and going, yeah, we know that guy. He's trying to make a name for himself doing all this stupid stuff. Like, I think even, I can't remember if it was Floyd Mayweather or if it was another boxer, but he stole their hat and ran away with it a while ago, like in this really obscene little stunt. Like, why would you do this? And then you realize, well, he's a clout chaser. He's out there trying to make a name for himself doing this stuff, and he was in and around the boxing scene at the time, so it made sense for him to do it at that point. And the unfortunate thing is, if they're going to be doing this kind of like the Bad Bunny situation, and they're putting him in with The Miz will make him look good, but I do believe they may end up giving Logan Paul the win here to build him up, because there's no way you would show him off as signing something and then put him in his first match and he loses.
So you're going to go with Logan Paul for the win?
Yeah, begrudgingly, because I kind of feel like that's the recipe. I don't see how they get out of this. Like, this isn't going to be the last match either. Unfortunately, this is probably going to go to to maybe 3-4 matches. This is going to be an ongoing thing. Where Miz is going to be claiming that his balls are ginormous again, and the T-shirt is going to get rehashed, and yeah, unfortunately, I feel like they're going to give Logan Paul the win here. I would prefer to see the Miz do it, and then just Logan to be like, okay, cool, that was a nice little segue into wrestling, and then he goes off to the next combat sport. Maybe he wants to go into MMA next.
Yeah, I'm gonna go agree with you that Logan Paul is gonna win. They're pushing him as a baby face, but he was getting mixed reaction from the crowd. Obviously, Miz is the heel, so they want to get more casual fans and kind of casual folks be like, "Ooh, who's this? I've heard of this Logan Paul person. What's he doing? Oh, he's going to be at this pay-per-view. He's going to be at the show. There might be maybe 10% of everyone who watch might continue to watch because he's there. But I feel like it's sort of a big deal. He's going to win in the sort of kayfabe sense. A brand new person, even though they may be kind of athletic, should not win over a guy who's a veteran and has experience and type of thing. But it is what it is. But yeah, I also agree that Logan Paul is going to take the victory here.
Yeah, I mean, at least they're not putting him over Seth or somebody like, somebody with actual top tier talent clout. They're giving them the Miz. Like the Miz, like we've stated before, is the safe hand. He's gonna put on a decent match and he'll make Logan Paul look good. If not, the Miz is about to start a babyface run, unprecedented. Hitherto unheard of.
Remains to be seen. So we're both going with Logan Paul for the win. All right, on to the next matchup here. We have the champion Bianca Belair facing off against Becky Lynch for the WWE Raw Women's Championship. So we've been seeing the combination of Bianca and Becky with a little bit of Asuka thrown in. Ooh, geez, what seems like the past 3 or so months, some combination of the two of these ladies as well as Asuka thrown in, and it's been a lot. But the story of the comeback kid, Bianca, being the champion at last year's SummerSlam, the returning Becky Lynch, beat her in 20 some odd seconds. It's been even though she's now regained the title from Becky at WrestleMania, now sort of the redemption arc in Bianca's eyes to avenge that loss, even though she may have avenged it at WrestleMania, that notwithstanding. But for her loss and for her pride. But then also Becky sees it as a redemption arc for losing at Mania and kind of coming back. So interesting storytelling, getting a little long in the tooth in terms of the repetitiveness that you mentioned before. But both characters potentially have an argument here. So what do you make of this one, Joker?
Long in the tooth is very appropriate because, yeah, I'm done with this. Like, I have a couple of ways to get out of this, and it brings back to my point that I stated earlier on. We need to stop having the same matches week in, week out, week in, week out with very little change. Like you said, Bianca, I feel already avenged her loss by beating Becky at WrestleMania. But this is the sort of moral victory. She beat her in 14 seconds, I think. I think Becky beat her in
20 some odd, something like that. Very short match.
It was something silly. It was a short match either way. Becky coming back, entering into the world of wrestling, sports entertainment after giving birth. First opponent is Bianca Belair. Big mistake, beats her, absolute squash. And you crush the EST, like, cool. Bianca and Becky with Asuka has been going on since before WrestleMania. And Asuka's been added in to freshen things up since her return. This is way too long. Like, this is even worse than me complaining about Seth versus Cody going on for 3 pay-per-views in a row. Like, come on. This is nuts. Like, why is this still a thing?
I'm not sure. I think it's of the notion that obviously Bianca is a newer star. She's been on the main roster for now a couple years. She's gaining traction, gaining momentum. She can show that she can hold the belt. It's questionable whether they have challengers for her to give her title reign a little bit more credibility, but that's a little bit on the WWE's booking of it. There have been some extenuating circumstances now that have seen just a combination of Becky, combination of Asuka in matches with Bianca. We've seen a number of matches with Carmella now, like 2 or 3 weeks in a row, having sort of that matchup now. The unfortunate injury to Rhea Ripley. So we haven't seen much variety, but that notwithstanding, it's one of those things where I really feel like we need to bookend this matchup here because, again, I feel like long in the tooth is an apropos piece. Let's not rest on our laurels of, well, we can only rely on a Charlotte and we can only rely on a Becky. We have to give these other folks an opportunity, and Bianca can show that she can be entertaining and be athletic and do a match. So with that, who do you see taking this one?
Like I said, I have a couple of ways this could go. I think the most logical way this is going to go is a Bianca retention. I think that is what the WWE will do, because they just keep pushing her as this ultimate babyface. Like, I keep seeing her all over Twitter doing all these promos, going out and doing meeting with fans, meeting with other sports teams, talking about athletics and things like this. She's a very, very, very good ambassador for the company. Personally, because of the way this is going, I would now like to see her without the belt. Not because I don't think she can't hold that belt, but because I don't think she needs that belt right now, or needs to be around that scene. Take her away for a month, and then enter her back in with a returning Rhea Ripley whenever she's healthy off her injury. Have them go into a non-title sort of storyline, build them back up again, towards whatever, and then you can have Becky Lynch hold the title. I do believe that the injury to Rhea maybe delayed what should have been Bianca versus Rhea here. I definitely think that was probably the case, considering we're supposed to have it last pay-per-view, and this would have been the next one in the series. Which would have probably been the Bianca retention into the Rhea capturing the title on the second one. So I think that the WWE is going to go with Bianca retaining here, but I've kind of got my fingers crossed for a Becky win.
I am also in agreement that I could see this going potentially either way. I'll agree with you that Bianca has now shown that she may not need the title to be successful. She can have some programs. She can just have athletic matches and still be over. Becky, obviously, again, great character work as of late. She can show that she can be entertaining. You can always put the title on Becky, for example. So I feel like for the storyline purposes of kind of what makes sense, Bianca should retain, and then have Becky just kind of go at least away from it, and then maybe have an Asuka maybe be the next person, or maybe a Rhea when she's healthy potentially be the next title holder. Again, with the notion of a Becky Lynch or Charlotte, again, they've shown they can hold the titles, they can do these things, they can be successful. If you need in a pinch, or if you need something kind of fresh change. But again, the notion of we can't always rely on these folks. If they get injured or they go away, do we now have a hole in the women's division? So I feel like Bianca will take this one, and they should now get apart and go on to different programs.
Yeah, and just to tack on to the end of that, I am so ready for Bayley to return so that we can see her into this, or maybe even possibly the other title scene as well. So yeah, just bring back Bayley, please.
So let's have some fresh matchups for sure. The next matchup we are looking at here is Matt Riddle taking on Seth Rollins. I'm going to be flat out honest. I've been watching Raw, and I've been watching the pay-per-views, and I really don't understand or fully know why these folks are battling or have heat with one another. I know that there is some sort of external heat in the past with Matt Riddle's now ex-wife making some comments about Seth's wife, Becky. So I know that they had some sort of external heat like that. I'm not quite sure. Riddle's coming off of the bloodline piece and missing his big bro Randy, and I know they had the interaction in the Money in the Bank matchup where they did that sort of RKO off the ladder and looked like he potentially may have like jacked his neck. Thank goodness Seth is okay, but honestly, I don't understand or know why these guys are fighting. Maybe help me out a little bit.
I honestly wish I could.
Okay.
Because Seth has literally been fed Ezekiel for the last couple of weeks, because there was a pseudo little altercation that we were like, okay, Seth needs some wins back. Let's give him Ezekiel because KO's out for a couple of weeks and he needs to be kept on TV so people don't forget about him, and his brother Elias and his brother Elrod. So, you know, it's one of those things that you kind of look at it and go, okay, cool. Are we starting this out, or is this sort of, you know, in the world of the storytelling that we've got currently, is this the beginning of a feud? Is this the middle of a feud? Is this a one and done? I don't think that one interaction in a ladder match is enough to be like, oh yeah, 100%, we're really angry at each other. There's just like, as much as anybody wants to, you know, tell us what the deal is, if anybody in the comments wants to tell us what the deal is from their perspective between, you know, making sure that Riddle and Seth have a match here, please let us know, because neither of us are wholly aware why these two need to be fighting right now.
Agreed. I'm a bit lost, but I think these guys are both highly athletic individuals with a little bit different style, so it should be a hard-hit match. So in this one, who do you see taking this one?
That's where it gets difficult, because again, Riddle has been on a streak of losses coming out of the bloodline feud that he had. Because he just kind of was going up and then he went straight down, and like you said, floundering without his buddy Randy. And then Seth has only been getting a couple of wins. Honestly, without knowing why these two are going on, I can only go with Seth because he's the bigger name. It wouldn't surprise me that Riddle gets one over and we start a feud. That would make sense. But if Seth wins, then this is a one and done.
I'll agree with your points. If Seth wins, it's a one and done. If Riddle wins, it's the beginning of the program. Mm-hmm. But I don't see, like, I guess these guys we need something for both of them to do. They're both really not having anything or doing anything. Let's just put them in the match together because it's a pay-per-view and it's SummerSlam. But I'm going to go with Seth winning this one. I'm just going to call it right there. So, yeah, Seth wins.
Yeah, I have no disagreement with that.
All right. On to the next matchup here. We have the SmackDown Women's Championship match as we see the champion Liv Morgan taking on Ronda Rousey. Of course, last pay-per-view for the Money in the Bank, Liv Morgan won the ladder match and subsequently cashed in post-match on Ronda Rousey after she defeated Natalya. Was a bit vulnerable there, ended up getting the roll-up and winning, which is quite the jubilation for the crowd live and on social media as well. And now we're seeing them now have the appropriate sort of running it back and having the actual matchup. So what do you make of this one, Joker?
I have to reintroduce my tinfoil hat here for a quick second. Because honestly, there is a little bit of conspiracy going on. Now, this is just what I have noticed and not sort of anything to do with it's not in the realm of logic. Please do not crucify me for, you know, spouting an opinion here. But Liv winning Money in the Bank and subsequently cashing in got her this amazing push to being the SmackDown Women's Champion. And you know, Ronda came out and said that, you know, she was happy that somebody who had passion and drive and stuff sort of got this opportunity, and that's great. Now, should there have been a plan in place for Liv to get these, she would be running around with plates weeks ago.
Bingo.
She never got plates until last week. This past week. She got very basic plates, LIV. I know nothing too extravagant about them, but legit only got them this week. I don't think the plan was for Liv to hold this for very long, because I don't think that anybody believed that she would have the pop that she got. Everybody loved this. Whenever Liv got the opportunity, she's been called the Miracle Kid, you know, whatever you want to call her. I don't care. She's the SmackDown Women's Champion. And this past week on SmackDown, they decide to show Ronda tweaking her knee. And they went through that whole rigmarole of, these are the excuses, spite. These are the excuses we're making for Ronda. And then we have this pseudo-okay promo between Ronda and Liv in the backstage area. Ronda excusing Kayla Braxton, who was probably there to just rile things up as per usual. And you know, Ronda didn't sound terrible on this promo coming from the heel side of things. And I do believe I remember it was either yourself telling me or it was somebody else, like she prefers to be seen as a heel going forward because she feels like she can work that way because of her love for Roddy Piper and his heel work and things that obviously inspired heavily by him. And it's just one of those things that you look towards it and go, have they sort of changed their mind now? Because it's very strange that they go weeks without Liv's plates. And for context, I have legitimately seen, I think, Bobby Lashley or Kevin Owens in a digital segment after they won a championship. I think it was a Universal or whatever title it was. And they were getting their plates changed that night. So they were available. Like, these are things that people will go ahead and get and sort out. And Liv is only getting hers this past week. So have they changed direction? And they want to keep Liv champion? I kind of hope so. Because I would like to see, as much as I want to see Bianca without a title, I would like to see a world in which Ronda Rousey is not a title holder as well. But she's still active. Because she is a pseudo Brock Lesnar. I know I've used that word a couple of times now, but she is kind of like the Brock Lesnar of the women's division in the sense she comes in, she holds a title, then she loses and she goes away for a while. She hasn't really been in the scene without the belt. I'd like to see maybe her going up against Bianca Belair too.
Yeah, there have been a majority of the time that Ronda has been active with the company that she's been a champion, and that's just, it is what it is. I will give your point absolute merit in the sense of Liv only getting her plates basically now, almost a full month, at least 3+ weeks after she won the title, in the sense of they sort of shotgun the booking and say, all right, everyone that we have, fans are ready for a new star. Liv has been getting a little bit of a push, and we want to see that. So the sort of in that right circumstances or in the stars aligned, they chose to pull the trigger on Liv. So it was maybe not a full-fledged planned out thing. To your point about the likes of a Bobby Lashley, the likes of other folks having plates ready, things of that nature, that obviously it's been planned out and they were prepared for that. I will agree with you that now, again, having a new star and pushing someone else and giving someone else an opportunity, you know, we'll see Liv sink or swim, and you know, let's give these people a chance. And you have nothing to lose if you're not comfortable with a Liv. You can put it on a Ronda, you can put it on a Charlotte, you can do those things. But I think it's now time we need a little variety, and let's give Liv a little bit of a run, and let's get fans invested, and again, build a little bit more of a new star type of thing. In terms of the matchup, yeah, I can see with the nature of Ronda kind of poking the bear a little bit and maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable or natural in that sort of snarky kind of pseudo bad guy, not quite a heel, but I can go full heel if I need to type of thing, feeling more comfortable in that than sort of your generic white meat baby face. Yeah, I can see that. And against this, basically just full baby face Liv. But yeah, I'll agree. So who you You said, did you make your prediction of?
I didn't, but
okay.
it's pretty obvious. I think I want to go with Liv.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep the title. I'd like to see Ronda in the scene without the belt again. With the blurring of the lines between Raw and SmackDown, I think now would be a really good time for Ronda to go towards Bianca. I think that'd be a nice change of pace. And should Becky lose, maybe take on SmackDown's champion in Liv Morgan. You know, something along those lines. There's always ways to change things up, and I think in this instance, we need Liv Morgan to stay champion because we do not need to see Ronda Rousey be the champion.
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's going to potentially be some shenanigans. They might play up a little bit of Ronda being hurt or lingering injury from the knee itself. I can see Charlotte coming back and kind of distracting Ronda and playing up that angle. That was
something that I was kind of thinking about. You know, haven't seen Charlotte in a while. She went away and got married, so she could come back and play the spoiler. So
yeah, we'll see. But I'll agree. I'll go with Liv because it makes sense for the baby face and give her a little bit of a run. And let's see if potentially Ronda can navigate and be successful and be sort of a team player, be kind of a big deal without having or needing to hold that title.
I'd really like to see a full-on heel Ronda Rousey as well, just going around, just absolutely dominating everything, not trying to be sportsmanship like like she was trying to be whenever she was champion and had that match against Raquel. Like, come on, give me full heel Ronda Rousey, no F's given. Maybe even whenever Charlotte comes back, they form a tag team. Like, that would be stupid funny because they've had some heat before in the past. So, it would be nice. Something new.
Definitely something new. All right, we're going to take a look at the next matchup here as we see the Usos, Jay and Jimmy, as the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions going off and facing the Street Profits of Angelo, Dawkins, and Montez Ford, with the caveat that Jeff Jarrett will be the special guest referee. And again, this is a feud that finishing out and coming off of the Matt Riddle involvement with the Bloodline. This is another one that's getting a little bit long in the tooth, and we're scraping by because we've seen single matchups between all the combinations of these guys. Bunch of different 6-man combinations of these things. We've seen at Money in the Bank, the controversy with the the shoulder being up, leading to now the added measurement of having Jeff Jarrett now as a special guest referee. So this feud needs to end. No disrespect to either team, but they need to part ways after this. But what's your take on this, man?
So this is interesting, okay? Because I think this only goes one way, and we've talked about this before about how we view Roman being inextricably linked to the Usos now, them pulling the weight of SmackDown, of WWE basically in general, in his absence. The tribal chief, the head of the table, the needle mover, the big Us, Joe Anoa'i, Roman, the man, the big dog Reigns, he will not lose his titles until the Usos lose their titles. And that will be the start of the downfall of the Bloodline. If JEFF was not here, I would have given this to the Profits. But because of his really weird promo, I can see, JEFF, Jarrett, Mr. Man here being part of the Bloodline for the night and doing some work on the behest of said needle mover, said head of any table he wants to sit at, even the kids' table, because he just rolls like that, Mr. Roman Reigns. I think this has an awful lot of interesting connotations, and only because Jeff Jarrett is here as the special guest referee. That and the fact that I think they're enacting the plan to, unfortunately, split up Angelo, Dawkins, and Montez Ford.
I will agree that the having Jeff Jarrett being an extra layer will add controversy and sort of a story to the match, that notwithstanding. I feel like it's definitely going to play a factor in the finish of the matchup. So there has been rumors or conjecture going around that Solo Sikoa, the younger brother of both Jay and Jimmy, might end up being called up post SummerSlam. But I feel like it could be one of those things where he plays a factor in the matchup itself. So that's where I feel like it's going to maybe lean towards.
That's a really good point. I had forgotten about Solo Sikoa. I think you'd mentioned him a couple of weeks ago about the rumors him coming up, and we were joking about him holding the US and Intercontinental titles. Unfortunately, they're on two big boys right now that you don't really think that Solo could take on. So possibly, I do see that as a possibility. I would like to see that, actually. I should probably rephrase it like that. I would like to see him come up because from what I've seen in NXT, like, he's pretty good. You know, the brothers, anything to go by, he's going to be a big star. His promos don't seem, too bad at the minute. I think basically the same level as Bianca Belair, kind of, they're there, but not quite, but if he's in the bloodline and comes up, he's got Paul Heyman to listen to learn from. What? Yeah. That adds another layer to this that I was not thinking of, and I would like to see that. But I still maintain that Jeff Jarrett is going to be the X factor for this match, because when has he ever been anything but working for himself? And he's going to clearly side with the champs here.
So you're going with the Usos winning this one?
I don't think that there's any other way that this can go because of Jeff. And like I said, that it may lead to the unfortunate split of the Street Profits as well.
I'll go with Solo Sikoa providing some sort of a distraction or some sort of interference to potentially distract or bother Jeff. Moves happen, bada bing, bada boom, Usos take it. So I'm in agreement that maybe slightly different way to get there, but I feel like we're both going with Usos to take it. And to bookend and jump on your sort of earliest point, yeah, the downfall of the bloodline will definitely kind of start with the Usos before Roman loses the titles. So yeah, but I don't think it's quite yet as at the moment. All right, moving on to the next matchup here, we see Bobby Lashley, the United States champion, taking on Austin Theory. And this kind of goes back to the previous pay-per-view, them jaw-jacking at one another, and ended up with including pose downs and with Money in the Bank, and it opened there, and Bobby Lashley ended up defeating Austin Theory to take the United States Championship. And they've been, after the night where Austin Theory ended up winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, we've seen them sort of diverge a little bit, only kind of come back a little bit in the sense of, yeah, I want my title back. And that's kind of only really been the build to this specific matchup, where it's been Austin now showing up on every show and just jaw-jacking, I'm going to take the title, boom. I interrupted the matchup with the Street Profits promo, and then, oh yeah, I'm putting Roman's name in my mouth, and then come the Usos. So it's been an interesting piece, but so it's been less about the US title than it's been about Theory's involvement with the Money in the Bank briefcase. But still, what are your take on this matchup?
So I've added another layer to my take for this because of you mentioning Solo Sikoa and the aforementioned, holding all the titles mid-card. He needs the United States title. So, like you had said before, they had this big old pose down, a couple pose downs, a couple of weeks. They had this program set up for Money in the Bank. And that was good, and all was glorious whenever Bobby, the Almighty, took down Theory and took the title back. But they haven't done anything. Like, there's been no Theory chasing him, except for recently where it's like, I want my title back. And you're just kind of looking at him going, all right, take that phone out of your hand, finally, but now you've got the briefcase. Just, I'm honestly, every time I look at him, I'm like this. I just shake my fist and go, just do something else. And the lack of build for this outing is disturbing. Mainly because Bobby hasn't done much compared to what you had just mentioned. Theory being on every show, Theory injecting himself into a rather upper card program, because let's face it, anything to do with the bloodline is Roman Reigns territory. Because if you mess with the Usos, you mess with Reigns, and Theory is injecting himself in there with the briefcase. So it's murky. It has a lot of room for disaster for Theory. And I can see Bobby Lashley just kind of existing in this match, if I'm honest, which is very disappointing as a Bobby Lashley fan. Like, I don't like the fact he hasn't had the chance to impose his will on Theory and say, no, well, I don't want this because it's my title and you're just some upstart.
It seems to me after the divergence of Money in the Bank, Lashley has his trophy, which is the United States Championship, and he's now Theory, even though he lost it, now he has his trophy in the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they've diverged, and they're, again, the build up to this match is only superfluous, and it's just kind of lackluster, and there's really nothing going on outside of maybe like one promo is basically like, dude, I'm going to challenge you because I want my title back. There hasn't been, but again, yeah, they've been sort of on different wavelengths and different storylines. So, yeah. But who do you see taking this one?
So, I have Theory winning this, and I had Theory winning this beforehand because of a rumor and because of the aforementioned lack of build and the unfortunate segments that Theory seems to be in everything. Bobby doesn't seem to be in anything. So I'm just kind of going by, they're going to give this title back to Theory.
Okay.
And it was based on the rumor that he is then going to unsuccessfully cash in on the winner of the main event of this particular pay-per-view, and obviously be unsuccessful, but still have the United States title. But then with the added bonus of you mentioning Solo Sikoa possibly being here, the title's now on Theory. A much more manageable gnat for the bloodline to squash. Because Bobby hasn't injected himself into their business. He hasn't been that silly. But Theory has been. So what better way to punish Theory than to take his United States title away and give it to Solo Sikoa? I'm just being fantasy booker again here, PT. I like to do it all the time, but I do feel like that would be hilarious from the standpoint that I would love to see Theory hit this big high, this low, remain quite high because I've still got my belt, so I'm still all there. It's okay, it's just a little bump in the road. I'm the youngest ever two-time US blah 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 blah. Only for him to be knocked down a peg and then, build himself back up from there. I think it would be interesting to see.
Interesting points there. I'm going to go with Bobby winning, and he has his championship and he has his trophy. In theory, still having his trophy in the briefcase. I'll agree at some point, I don't feel like Theory's going to be successful with his cash-in. There's been a lot of hinting at this is when he's going to cash in, the post matchup for the main event, the championship matchup. It's going to be unsuccessful type of thing, but I can see him kind of being super frustrated and kind of being that type of notion of kind of his next storyline of he lost the US championship match, he lost his briefcase type of thing, or which I really feel like they should do is just swerve, hint at it, and him being super cocky heel, just be like, you know what? I don't want to do this right now and not cash in and continue to hold it so he still has his trophy. But I see Bobby Lashley taking this one.
I can't be mad at that because, I think I've stated before that I'm a big Bobby Lashley mark. Love the man, think he's great, needs to be on TV more. Wouldn't mind him losing the United States Championship only for him to start holding the Uber titles. So, I'm a big proponent of Bobby Lashley because I one day want to see Bobby Lashley versus Big E, WrestleMania, main event for all the titles. Just every single belt.
All right, so we are a little bit split on a decision, but we definitely have ideas of where we want these guys to go post-matchup. Next one here, we have Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin. So this has been an interesting one. I'm a little concerned because it's never a good idea when you have a wrestler facing off against a commentator, even though one with personality and a bit of athleticism. But this has been a really weird build. Again, I do like the notion of there's the picture been sharing on Twitter about, again, they were teammates in the late 2000s with the Indianapolis Colts. And then now it's been 10 or 11 or 12 years in the making in terms of their quote unquote rivalry. But yeah, a little bit sneak attack, a little bit of childish antics in terms of nicknames and kind of weird build up and kind of promo work between the two. But this is an interesting matchup. What do you see about this one?
I am excited for this match.
Yeah.
I am very much excited for this match because, like you stated, this is a commentator versus a wrestler. But I have been watching Pat McAfee for a while because after he had retired from football, I had watched his podcast. His podcast mostly about football, American football. I do enjoy American football. Pretty hard for me to catch matches, and even whenever I do, they're always late at night anyway, and I can never get a decent recap, but I digress. And Pat McAfee always has really good insights onto that world. And whenever he was starting this job, he was always talking about how he wanted to be a wrestler, how he wants to be this, that, and the other. Like, it was one of his dreams before even being a football player. And it's an understatement to say this man has some athletic competence because he is very athletic. Against his match against Theory, there was vignettes and promos cut, and shown in the wee vignettes were videos of him in a homemade ring, trying to get his way into NXT and stuff years ago, and like even other videos about him have surfaced that he just looks really good. And in that match against Theory, he did really well. In his match against Adam Cole in NXT, he did really well. People were surprised by Pat. And I think the hit and run tactics by Happy Corbin are great because we're not seeing anything from Pat. Pat's not instigating these, but it's all Corbin coming in, blindsiding him, and little bit of an aside, I did think it was kind of funny whenever Cole, Michael Cole, this is, maybe want to push Pat into the way or maybe try and save him on the commentary. I was like, are you confused there, Michael? Do you not know whether you want to protect yourself? Which was really funny. But the side attack from Corbin, and then Pat obviously chasing back, coming back, cutting a really, really good promo. The man is sick on the mic, absolutely amazing. And if he has half the skill in the ring that he does on the mic, then this is just going to be a great match.
Yeah, granted, you mentioned the matchups with Adam Cole, and then the War Games matchup with the Undisputed Era and the matchups with Theory and things like that. Guy shows athleticism and surprised folks that weren't familiar with him. He's got some tools, can be athletic, can do some moves. Again, he's had some time to train, can speak on the mic, to varying degrees of folks, whether you like his style or you don't. Again, you got to give the guy some credit for that. So yeah, it's an interesting build to it. Again, just I'm always weary of wrestler versus announcer type of situations, because it almost screams lack of creative or kind of all right. But again, you're playing off a little bit of the semi-celebrity nature of Pat with Baron Corbin here. But that notwithstanding, who do you see taking this one?
Like you said, it's very hard to kind of gauge between commentator and wrestler who's going to get the win. Who deserves it? Is it celebrity? Is it physical competition? Pat McAfee's taking the win. I want to see him take the win because I feel like it would be great to have him win this match and then go back to being commentator. If he loses this match, he maintains into a program with Corbin. Like, that is the only way that goes, because Corbin will not let him live it down. Corbin will attack him again. Corbin will be like, "Oh, I'm better than you. I was better than you at the football field because all you could do was kick a ball and I was whatever, and this, that, and the other." And he's just gonna never let Pat live it down, and then we're gonna have to run it back. This way, we do get the celebrity status match. Pat McAfee, and I get it, he is really hard sometimes he's hard to deal with. He has that jock mentality. He is a jock. And I find him entertaining. A lot of people don't. But I feel like this match is his to lose, because Corbin is probably going to be taking some time off and then to come back and be put into another program with somebody else after this. I don't feel like their idea is to keep Pat McAfee as a wrestler for a long time, unless they put him out injured, replace him on the commentary desk, have him surprise return, and work some programs that way. This is not the way to get him into that. So, one and done, Pat McAfee to win.
I think not say your argument, but your reasoning had swayed me to potentially seeing Pat potentially win this match. It's one of those, again, I'm always conflicted. Commentator, even though you might be athletic, do you win against the guy who's in and out and is a wrestler? Interesting notion, right? Who do we see being sort of successful in that aspect? Can Pat take a win? Sure. Can he eat a loss? Of course he can. He's a commentator, can continue to do his job. Can Happy Baron Corbin here? If he wins, I feel like that sort of nature of him kind of shoving it in the face, to your point, type of thing. If he loses, type of thing, he'll kind of I feel like he'd want a rematch either way. So like, this was a tough one to call, but I feel like it would do more for Corbin to win than it would hurt Pat to lose, type of thing. So I don't know. It's one of those, again, I can go coin flip, but I don't know. I feel like Corbin can use the win more than Pat.
I don't disagree. I don't think Corbin has had a win in a long time. I just don't remember the last time it mattered for Corbin. Like, Pat won against Theory, and that was a WrestleMania. Corbin exists. Like, he's not in a. This is another reason why I don't think that Corbin will win. And it is more to your point that who is it better for? I don't think it's better for either of them, but I just don't think it's. I don't think it's best to have Corbin stay, because, like, if we look at Corbin, he's had that program with Moss. and then this program with Pat back to back, both kind of on a bit of a downturn here. So it would make sense for Corbin to take a step back, but you can't have Pat take a step back, which is the only reason in my head where you're like, Pat wins, he gets on that high, he does the jock thing, and he calls the Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar match afterwards, because he's obviously going to be commentating right up until his match. And then he's going to come back for the main event because it's the head of the table.
Yeah, so I don't know. We can see it going either way. So it's definitely it's going to be just a fun one to watch and kind of see how it plays out.
Definitely going to be a fun match.
All right, and our last matchup here is the last man standing match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, as we see champion Roman Reigns taking on Brock Lesnar. Again, with Roman having quite the long reign, no pun intended, and him, again, just being on his summer vacation. He's going to be making an appearance this coming Monday on Raw for the 20th anniversary celebration for Rey Mysterio. But yeah, we're going to see for the first time ever, Brock versus Roman in the first meeting. Of course, jokingly. But
I cannot wait to see the first meeting between these two. Yeah,
100%. I wonder what this kind of matchup's going to be like.
Match.
Well, it's one of those where we see Brock is the break glass in case of emergency, because we kind of, again, we're seeing this matchup again, facetiously, of course, before, but now, yeah, it's one of those, who else, we need a big pay-per-view, and, who else do we have? And we went with Brock. So what's your take on this match?
You ask who else do we have? Goldberg. We talked about this before, obviously, with the issues surrounding Vince retiring. There was the well-documented baby rage strap off of Brock Lesnar. True or not, I'm not here to dispute that, because Brock Lesnar would kill me if he knew anywhere, if I spouted lies about him, he would find where I lived and kill me. So I think that if Brock follows through with his I'm out of here if he's out of here notion, then the only person that it could have been, or could be, because cards subject to change, as it says, it could be Goldberg. And I didn't mention this point to you earlier on. If it's Goldberg, we know who's winning. Like, we know how long that match is going to be. We know who's winning that match, and nothing else matters. If it's Brock Lesnar, there's doubt. And he brings reasonable doubt to a match like this, especially because it's last man standing.
Yeah, so Joker mentioned a little bit of the nature of this potentially having some controversy around it. The aforementioned notion that with the news breaking that Vince was retiring, there was reports that Brock was kind of a little bit bummed or kind of upset and ended up leaving the arena in Boston during the SmackDown Live taping this past Friday. And essentially, in so many words, it reports, well, if he's gone, I'm gone type of thing. But ended up, looks like they found a way to kind of cooler heads prevail and have him come back at least and do a promo, or rather a segment at the end of SmackDown. But there was reports that if Brock is not game for this matchup, then they might make overtures to have Goldberg be the replacement. That notwithstanding, should be, if it's indeed Brock or if it ends up being Goldberg as a replacement, should be a Haas matchup regardless.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big Haas match. The best drama for me is to have this match start off with a Brock win, like looking like he's gonna win. And then just having Roman play the dirty heel running away. because last man standing it's no count out. It's no holds barred. It's there's no rules, right? There's no count outs to this.
Yes, it's essentially no disqualification, no count out, no pinfall, no submission. Knock the guy down for a 10 count, essentially.
Yeah. I would love to see a return to the good old days, in quote, air quotes here, where we spill out to the back and we take a bit of a trip round catering. I don't think we will do that, but it would be a nice little throwback, especially with this new era starting. This could be a real good kickoff for that. I'm gonna keep on advocating for it, and I would like to see Brock come out strong, dominate. Roman possibly showing a little bit of weakness, not having been in the ring for about just as long as Brock, let's face it, and then Roman coming out with the Solo Sikoa interference, the Usos interference, Sami Zayn interfering. That'd be great to see, the honorary Us come out and have some interference. Yeah, that'd be great. This is another match that I'm looking forward to, actually.
So with all those things considered, who do you see taking this one?
Roman Reigns.
Fair enough.
Head of every table he wants to sit at, including the kids' table.
I'm in agreement. I see Roman taking this. If it stays the course and it's a Brock Haas matchup, but I still see Roman in terms of storyline holding it. If there's ends up being the possibility that they change up the match, it still seems like Roman's going to take it as well. It's not quite ready for him to be taking the title off until they find, I guess, the appropriate person to find it or fits in the story and type of thing like that. So let him hold it through Survivor Series so we can have a Roman Reigns versus Roman Reigns match as the WWE champion and the Universal champion taking on each other. So for sure.
I mean, they have already found the perfect person to take the title off. They just need to wait for his schedule to clear up and for him to stop, acting and take a couple of weeks off so he can train. And, it's The Rock has to come back and give him that match and then, win the title and then hand it to Theory the next night on Raw. Wrestle.
So, as a caveat, do we see a cash-in at post-match?
Do we see cash-in? Well, I had said, obviously, after the Bobby Lashley match, that I do see Theory winning and then cashing in his luck, as it were, saying, well, I'm the US champion, I'm going to cash in. I do see a cash-in, and I do see an unsuccessful cash-in and the only way that there is a cash-in is if there is no interference or no one surrounding Roman at the time of his victory. If Solo Sikoa and the Usos are all out at the ring, as well as the honorary Us, there is no chance, because he would have to fight his way to Roman to cash it in. Now, there is the added caveat that maybe Brock takes everybody out. That Brock could take everybody out. Brock could then, take the pin, no sell the pin, walk out, walk past Theory, slap him in the face too. And then he rides off into the sunset and does Cowboy Brock things. So it is all up in the air, but I would really like to see a field cash in just so I can live out that dream of having Theory have his United States title taken away.
To the point about a cash-in, they've been hinting at it. They've been banging it off the wall. It's been sort of Theory's piece now. I'm wondering, with Vince being away from creative and being away now, with sort of Austin Theory being his sort of pet project or obviously being a favorite, does that change his booking?
One.
Yeah, does that change up things there? But I do not see a cash-in. Those are our predictions for SummerSlam. So let us know your predictions and your thoughts down in the comment section below or on Twitter and Instagram for sure.
And don't forget to add in your best imaginary booker scenarios, because that's pretty much all I do now. I've just wanted to imaginary book everything.
Finally got the pencil, brother.
I'm actually going to get a pencil for next time.
I smell a gimmick coming. I smell merchandise. I smell t-shirts. So but definitely let us know what your thoughts are surrounding SummerSlam pay-per-view. All right, time for some quick hits. So once again, for the newer folks joining us, quick hits are little segments that happen throughout the week that we may not have gotten a chance to speak on before, but they are little moments that we enjoyed or had fun with. They're sort of the Pop the Boys segments throughout the week. So I actually have a couple small ones here. Firstly, here on this past week's episode of AEW Dynamite, we had a backstage promo featuring Chris Statlander, Athena, and Willow Nightingale. And this, of course, was ahead of the tag team matchup pitting Jade Cargill against Kiera Hogan, facing off against the aforementioned Athena and Nightingale. Tony Schiavone doing the interview, mentioning that Stokely Hathaway says that Statlander has to sit out the match, to which Chris responds, "I think it's pretty obvious why," and then hits the side of her head. And of course, and I love the fact that Athena on the side laughs and obviously gets the reference, of course, is a wonderful homage to What Culture's own resident nice guy, Simon Miller, featuring his Slap the Head moment and his Y series. So very nice reference. And I was like, oh, wait, hey, it's Simon Miller.
I think everybody in the know for that reference heard the theme song. You know, like whatever he says, why, here's why, and then the dong, you know what? I heard it. As soon as she said it, I heard that in my head. And seeing Athena Corpson for this as well, I was like, yes! Because the only reason I saw this was because I stupidly went on Twitter again, like I normally do every day after a wrestling evening, and I saw Simon popping for it himself. I saw his tweet and it was great, and everybody was like, you know, Simon, you made it, you know, this is so great seeing this happen on TV. And you know, if you know, you know, if you don't, it's just a really good it's a really good little segment.
Yeah, definitely nice. And it's cool to see folks and that have put in work within the community itself, pundits or type of things like that, sort of have little nods and kind of things. We've seen this reference with Chris Statlander. We've seen in signs in the crowd that says, "Hey Simon, give me an up," type of thing. So it's nice. And again, for those that are familiar with Simon, all around just kind of really nice guy and can speak fairly and objectively about stuff in wrestling. And yeah, one of those things to kind of just have a nice little reference to him.
He always definitely brings the positivity to the world of wrestling.
So for my next quick hit here, I had a kind of had to rewind moment. So just before the Kingston and Jericho Barbed Wire Everywhere match, again on this past week's episode of Dynamite, we had Excalibur reading off the lines for the promotions as well as a promo for the trailer for the House of Dragons coming up, and he does his sort of long-winded and sort of out-of-breath piece, and we have Jim Ross sitting next to him making a Talladega Nights reference, saying, quote, "Well, you're all jacked up on Mountain Dew, aren't you?" And I absolutely laughed when I heard that, and I had to rewind and be like, did he just say that? Did he say what I think he said? So
yeah, if he had continued on and said, "I'm just gonna come at you like a spider monkey," like if he had responded with that, I would have, yeah, it would have sent me over the edge. Whenever I heard that, I was like, yeah, JR, good job, man. That was great.
again, this harkens back to our kind of previous quick hits and our discussion of JR, just no F's given, just going out there and freestyling and just sort of enjoying the moment.
Just does what he wants.
So I had a big old pop for both of these pieces here that happened this past week. Joker, do you have any quick hits for this week?
I do not. I really enjoyed both of those pops.
that you had mentioned. I thought that they were really, really good. There was nothing else that sort of bent me double this week. So I'm just, I don't know, my standards are too high this week, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, again, quick hits are just little tiny segments. Again, it was two small references that happened to be sort of in promos, wasn't specifically expressly in like a matchup or anything like that, but it was just like, oh, like I really liked that. I kind of found it funny. I enjoyed it. And again, sometimes there's ebbs and flows in terms of what happens throughout the week, and sometimes there's things that we had a pop the boys moment, and sometimes there aren't. So
It's always nice to just have that rewind moment, like you said, and go back and go, did he just say that? He did. Go back and have another laugh at it and enjoy it even more, because that's what it's all about.
all good. So if you folks listening out here have some quick hits for the week, definitely let us know for sure. All right, so this is a little bit of a long show, but we appreciate everybody hanging in there with us. So it's going to about wrap it up for us. Joker, how was this one for you, bud?
Long, bud. It's long. We need to stop. We need to stop going so long.
We have a lot of thoughts and ideas around these topics for sure. So
I hear you, dude. I'm gonna stop fantasy booking. I get it.
So we'll see how things play out, but yeah, definitely had a fun kind of talking about this. A little heavy on the material here today, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it with us. But even if it's the subject matter may be intense at times, we try to just kind of give our notions and thoughts and try to liven it up a little bit. So, all right. With that being said, for TFJ0ker.
Thank you very much for bearing with us.
And for me, PrettyTony, we thank you for your time and letting us be a part of your day. And remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.